Zaffer presents The New Kingdom, written by Wilbur Smith and Mark Chadbourn, read by Mark Meadows. The two men clambered across the high ground under the watchful eye of the gods. At the summit, the barren landscape rolled out, silvered by moonlight and carved by shadow. A cool breeze blew from the east, ripe with the earthy aromas of the lush vegetation swelling around the Nile. They were friends from their earliest days. Of the two, Hui was the braver. He wore no more than a linen kilt, wrapped around him and knotted at the waist, showing off limbs that were hard and strong. In Lahun, the home they had crept away from at sunset, many still thought of him as a child. Hui blamed his youthful features, which still glowed with innocence. Cheeks a little too plump, no worry lines around his mouth or on his forehead. A child? 17 he was. He wrinkled his nose. Those detractors would be proved wrong soon enough. "Do you see it?" Kiki said in a tremulous voice. His nickname meant monkey, for that was what he resembled, with thin arms that seemed to reach almost to his knees, and a small face with big dark eyes. Hui pressed a finger to his lips. Crouching, he craned his neck to stare at the stars flowing across the sky. Yes, the gods were always watching. Every fool knew that. He trembled under the weight of those glittering eyes. A grand destiny lay ahead of him if those higher powers were willing, and tonight he would take his first step along that road to glory. The eerie barking they had heard on the climb echoed again, closer this time, and his heart hammered. Hui looked around the jagged teeth of the rocks on the hills where he had followed the old desert wanderers' tracks, to the undulating waves of the desert sands to the west. Squinting towards the east, he could make out the faintest glimmer of the great river mirroring that sweep of twinkling stars overhead. That otherworldly yowling rang out again, almost at his elbow this time, and Hui jumped to his feet. "What is that?" Kiki whined. He grabbed Hui's shoulder, his eyes widening. Hui let out what he hoped was a comforting laugh. "Stay strong, my friend. You dragged us to this lonely place, far from the safety of our homes, and now you tell me not to be afraid?" Kiki jabbered. "The old men on the benches by the walls say the hills are haunted. Demons walk here." Hui choked back his scorn as Kiki reached out a trembling finger. A silhouette was rising behind a rib of brown rock. Twin horns stabbed up from the head. Coldly glimmering eyes stared at them. That mournful barking rolled out again. Kiki clutched his face and whimpered, "Oh, Hui, you have doomed us." Hui stiffened. He would stand his ground, even though his legs were shaking, for that is what great leaders did. The silhouette eased up further until the moonlight burned the darkness from it, and Hui sagged with relief. Those horns were long pointed ears, the narrow face and almond eyes feline. It was a desert cat. He'd seen one only once before, but he'd heard they barked like dogs instead of purring or hissing.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?